Hello creatives, what's up? It's Ash. I'm on enough caffeine to power a small school bus, per usual, and today we're gonna try out some Posca pens. Now, if you've seen the art that people make with these before and you're a little bit intimidated and your attention span is quaking, like I could never sit and complete something like that ever, have no fear. Sit your ADHD to the side. I'm gonna show you why these are the best markers if you feel like you have trouble doing intense detail. Why? Because you can add dynamic, bold aspects to your art without actually taking that much time, even though it looks like you spent a lot of effort on the piece. When I can't focus, I go to Pocus. Posca. 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 You know what? To prevent me from saying anything else more cringy, we're gonna cut this right here and get right into how to use these babies.
Posca pens are a water-based paint marker that originate from Japan and were first released in the early 80s. They're created by the company Mitsubishi Pencil. To activate your Posca pen, shake it vigorously and then begin pressing down on the nib until paint begins to flow. Please keep in mind, this clip is a little bit misleading because it can take a while to activate the pen, so have patience, it's totally normal. There's a variety of sizes that Posca pens come in. They go all the way up to 17K, as you can see here, and they range all the way down to smaller, fine liners. The size of pen that you need really just depends on preference and the size of your project, so use your best judgment when it comes to the amount of surface area you need to cover with the pens. Now, if your pens come in a plastic covering individually, you just twist the cap like I'm doing here, and then you can pull that plastic covering right off very easily. I'm going to show you some of the pens from my collection, and I'll put the sizes on the screen so you can have a little visual of what each one looks like. I don't have all the sizes, but I have about 4 of them currently in my collection, and that works perfectly for me. The best way to show you guys how to use Posca pens is to use them. So I'm going to do a demo where I use these pens to complete line work of mine and color it in and explain the process of me doing so. Now, first things first, very important, I want to go over how I actually get the sketches to use. So if you see here, this is me sketching out the preliminary proportions of one of the potential ideas I had for this demo. I ended up going in a different direction, but it's still useful for showing you guys what to do with your sketches. So on this one, I'm not worrying too much if the lines are too heavy or if there's marks here or there. I'm just trying to get the basic proportions. I will then trace this sketch that I just did, so I only get the most basic information to add ink to. And as you can see here on the left, that's what that looks like. Now on the right, that was the piece that kind of inspired the left one. I was going to do a more realistic version of it. And then this is just another example of rough line work that was another idea I had but didn't go with. Now this is what I decided on, and it's what we're going to create together today. So on the right, you see the original piece that I did, and on the left, what I actually did was I took a picture of the piece on the right and then traced my line work and redid the piece and filmed it so that I could explain to you guys what I actually did. If you would like to use this line work, I actually have a free download of it. So basically what you can do is follow the instructions in the video description, print that line work out, and trace it onto a piece of Bristol or watercolor paper. This is really key because these papers are a little thicker, so they're going to give you a better result than if you just use regular printer paper. Please note that with Posca pens, they can always pill a little bit just because it is paint going onto paper, so that can sometimes be hard to avoid, but I do find that using a thicker paper definitely cuts down on that. I already lined my piece in Micron, and then I'm going in with my first color. So I always like to do a base color, and then I'll add some more details with lighter colors on top of it. Another really great tip to keep in mind is that you want to try your best to start with your lighter colors and do the darker colors last. And the reason is because with these lighter colors, for example, the background of this is going to be black. If I were to put black down and then go in with this light blue, it is possible that once this blue gets into contact with that black, it could stain the tip a little bit, and we don't want that. We want to keep our colors as pure as possible. So don't freak out if you kind of forget, but do your best to keep it so that you're doing your lighter colors first. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing a series of small strokes in the same direction. Now this is going so fast that it might look like I'm going back and forth, but it is actually a series of small strokes made close together, moving the same way. And what this is going to do is just help you have a more even coating. What I do like about these, it's not like Copics where you go over an area and you can see the actual strokes if you're not careful. With these, it's paint, so it does give you a solid finish, which can cause very cool effects. So if you notice, every time that I'm holding a color, I put that color down everywhere that I intend to have it on the piece before moving on to the next one. So for example, when I had blue in my hand, everywhere that I wanted blue to be on this drawing, I put it down, and then I moved on to pink, and now that I'm on to that green color, I'm also putting it everywhere that I want it before moving any further. Now the reason I do this is one, because it makes it much more pleasing visually to work on this piece if you see how all of the colors interact with each other. If I were to only do a pink here, a blue here, a green here, I really wouldn't see how everything fit together as a whole. If I instead decide to put the colors in all of the different areas that I intend to have them, then when I move on to the next color, it's going to allow me to make better decisions. The second reason I do this is because it allows me to keep the colors clean. If I use one color at a time and wait for the colors to dry in between, it's going to allow me to have more pure colors on my piece, which is more visually appealing. Now, Posca pens are very similar to the process of traditional painting in the sense that before adding detail, you want to add base colors. So that's what we did here. We laid all of the base colors down, and then once this fully dries, we're going to go back on top of our colors to add finer detail. Now, this is the case where it's okay to add a lighter color over a darker color, because at this point it's already dried, and these are thin lines in the same shade that we're using to emphasize the area. I'm using micron pen at this point to define my lines. You'll probably have to do this just because with Posca pens, since it's thick paint, you might go over some of the lines you initially draw. This is totally fine. This is a great time to go back in and crisp everything up. Now, if you want to do this effect on different face drawings, like maybe you have some sketches of faces and you want to do something similar, what I want you to do is print out a few photos and start practicing taking a pencil and tracing all of the different layers of light that appear on a face. So for example, a highlight in the center of the forehead, you would put a circle. You would circle that highlight. The midtones and the shadows. If you were to actually create these as shapes and look at how that appears on the different photos that you have in front of you, you would begin to see how you could start drawing this way or applying it to your existing sketches. All that's really happening is we're replacing midtones, highlights, and shadows with bold color by first reducing them to simple shapes. So what we're doing here is just adding some final details, adding paint anywhere, or adding Posca pen rather, anywhere that we still need to put it, crisping up any areas that are maybe a little soft, and then of course as the final aspect of this, we're going to add black to the background. Once that black dries, you can add white over top of it for stars. Again, really make sure it's dry. You can also use a marker box or ruler to crisp up the edges of your little square, and then that's what we have as a finished result. So next I'm gonna allow you to have a little bit of an ASMR moment with me unboxing.
Guys, I hope you found this Posca demo helpful, and I would love to see what you create, so feel free to tag me if you do this exercise and show me how it comes out. As mentioned, if you'd like to use the line art that I used for this video, you're more than welcome to do so. You cannot sell it or create something that you make prints off of or anything like that, but you can share it on social media as long as you give me some credit so that I can check out what you're creating. My name's Ash, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you create a life that inspires you to create today.